BlackRock joins the Ripple XRP Swell party celebration. It's going to be one heck of a time, folks. And it's not just BlackRock. You have many other institutions which may or may not be ready or already have been partnered up with Ripple that are going to be joining the Swellebration there in New York on November 4th and 5th. Now, this isn't breaking news, but I do want to put this into context for everybody as we set the stage for ETFs going live, additional digital asset treasury companies putting XRP on their balance sheet, amendments being passed that open up institutional DeFi on the XRP ledger, and what this means for us, little guy, that, decided to own just a small little piece of this railway system. We got a piece of the tracks here by owning XRP, and I think that it's going to pay off handsomely here for us over the course of the next year with XRP's price appreciation, but especially between now and the next 3 to 5 years, where we really tokenize tens of trillions of dollars on chain, and we start to move that liquidity on these ledgers. And we're talking about taking what is, maybe a few billion of real world assets on the XRP ledger today and taking this into the trillions, tens of trillions, and more importantly, those flows of liquidity between said assets tokenized on the XRP ledger and others. So in tonight's update, we got a lot to cover. We got terrible jobs numbers coming in. This is setting the stage for interest rate cuts coming up here. September 17th is the next date where we get an interest rate decision. And we've already noted that the Fed has given up the fight against inflation. They're no longer looking to get that 2% target. But the main concern now becomes the business cycle and the terrible jobs numbers that just came in here today, folks. We're going to get right on into it. Let's get to the data. Job openings dropped by 176,000 in July to 7.2 million, the second lowest since December of 2020. This brings the 3-month average down to 7.4 million, the second lowest reading since Q1 2021, per Zero Hedge. The ratio of job vacancies to unemployed workers also fell below 1 for the first time since early 2021. And meanwhile, government job openings fell 38,000 to 783,000, the lowest level since February of 2021. Time for us to go to a real economy, not just fake job numbers, illegal jobs, and also skewing the data on top of government hiring, right? And this is what was taking place. It's not political. The data was telling a lie, and we have to address this. And real quick, I want to make sure, chat, that you guys can hear me loud and clear. A couple people had been commenting on some of my most recent videos that I needed to turn up my mic a little bit. I thought that it sounded fine on my end, but maybe that is the case. So I did bump up the volume tonight. So I want to hear from you guys on YouTube, X. Can you guys let me know and make sure that you guys are hearing me loud and clear? And if you appreciate our streams, make sure that you are supporting the cause here by liking this video, sharing it out far and wide. And all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com, with a few of them quick links down below in the description of the video. But in 5 days, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is set to revise the U.S. job numbers for the 12 months ending in March of 2025. And according to Goldman Sachs, a downward revision of up to 950,000 jobs is coming. This would be the biggest downward revision since 2010. To say that the previous administration was lying about the jobs numbers is an understatement. I hesitate to say of biblical proportions, but it was of dang near biblical proportions, folks. And as we've been reporting since 2022, it's all fake. You step outside, you go talk to a small business owner. We've been trying to support small businesses in our community going back to 2020 when they all had to shut down. I mean, I was just talking about it the other day with my wife. Our first dates were back at the restaurants as they were opening back up from being shut down. Get a sense of what's really taking place on the ground, and you compare it with these data points that they've been trying to feed us. We said, wait, somebody's lying here. Somebody's telling a fib, okay? My daughter, she's figured out how to tell fibs lately. So she's been making up all sorts of crazy stories. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the problem is you have lies coming, and even the manipulated data that's a lie on its face, even that's terrible. So even the numbers that they were giving us, we were sounding the alarm saying, this isn't right, guys. This economy is weak and inflation's not going away. That's something that we've been pounding the table about since 2022. We didn't need to actually get this revision to know that that's what was taking place on the ground. That's why you want to be ahead of these data points and be able to decode the economic data as it comes out. Kabesi letter summarizing it right here. All you need to know is that the U.S. now has more unemployed people than job openings. In 2 weeks, the Fed will cut rates and blame a collapsing labor market. A lot is about to change. They're giving up the fight against inflation. Now, of course, they're going to play politics, and Powell can now blame Trump and the tariffs. So all pressure's off them. Hey, we got it close to our 2% target, but then Trump came in with the tariffs and the rest is out of our control. So it allows them to wave the white flag and give up, concede on their 2% inflation target, but then they get to acknowledge the weak labor market and use that as the excuse for why they can enter into a rate cutting cycle, even though I have a feeling that they really want to keep on sticking it to President Trump. But they know that there's a threat that they're going to cease to exist because the American people are going to finally find out that this is a private banking cartel that's been controlling our monetary policy since 1913. That shouldn't even be there. They're not a legitimate institution. And so to get the pressure off them, they can blame Trump tariffs on inflation, say, okay, that's no longer our battle. President Trump ruined that. And then when it comes to the labor market, they can just acknowledge the data, which was a complete fabricated lie for the past 4 years. And even before that, too. Once again, we were even commenting how President Trump had started to, really hype up this current economy. And we said, wait, hold up. We are praying for our president. We are rooting for our president. We're rooting for this country. We want the American people, middle class and poor, to be lifted up to a level playing field. But hold up. We got to acknowledge the blood in the streets down here on Main Street. And we're a ways away from that relief being here. Cutting interest rates by 25 or 50 basis points here in September is not going to fix the issue. But what it does is it signals to the market, and the markets are forward guiding. And so what we're going to see priced into the assets, hello, gold at new all-time high. Hello, silver at $42 per ounce. Hello, XRP at all-time high before the ETFs go live. We start to run in anticipation of rate cuts, in anticipation of the ETFs, at least if you're smart. That's what I'm doing. That's what you guys have been doing. That's what our community has been doing, is we've been stacking assets that get ETFs going live, are being put on balance sheets of digital asset treasury companies. And although I do believe that digital asset treasury companies make the bubble pop this time around, not to say any names, I'm not going to call out anybody, but I do think that some crypto digital asset treasury companies will take it too far, right, with the leverage. And so that will cause us to pop, in my opinion. But the important part is that these companies, in their effort, are trying to drive a supply shock on these assets. The third and final check that we're trying to do is the institutional adoption at scale. And the beautiful thing is that we've been able to get feedback from Ripple and their partners for years now. One example that I wanted to share with you guys tonight that really showcases this is the MoneyGram partnership. And the reason why I wanted to mention this tonight, for those of you guys who don't know, Ripple had a partnership with MoneyGram. MoneyGram dropped them, and then they started working with Stellar. And they actually threw some shade, kind of on the Ripple relationship. It didn't work out too well. Really, I think that XRP was too efficient, and it was cutting into their margin, their friction, where they make their money. So, it is kind of a tough thing to adopt for any institution that's able to tax you along the way, like how all of these incumbents really have made their business and made their living. And so I wanted to share that with you guys, though, because that's an example of an institution that was partnered up with Ripple. They drop Ripple, and then they give feedback that's negative. But at least we can say that this institution did partner up with Ripple, and they did use XRP. See, for many other crypto projects, you don't even get that far, let alone MoneyGram saying, hey, we did try out using the token. It didn't work out. We didn't like it. Now we're working with Stellar. And at the time I said it's a load of crap. They don't want to cut into their margin. They got a different deal with Stellar. It is what it is. It's fine. But the point being, Ripple had that partnership, and they actually were using XRP. Unlike a lot of the space, which is talking about consulting, talking about proof of concepts, but they're not even using the token. We have so many examples of Ripple partnerships, and you're getting that feedback. And we're going to be talking about this later here as we titled tonight's episode, BlackRock joining the Swellabration. They're joined by Citi, Fidelity, BNY Mellon, and every other institution that matters. is going to be at, Ripple's Swell conference in New York coming up in this November, right? And these are all partners that have been with Ripple for years, probably many of them on the low. And now that veil starts to get lifted. And you got to compare this as you look through your portfolios and ask yourself, okay, is this asset getting ETFs? Is this asset getting put on balance sheets of digital asset treasury companies? And are they actually getting institutional adoption of the token at scale? We have use cases of XRP. A lot of them are great. The 99% of the feedback is it's great. Working with Ripple is tremendous. Using XRP is the most efficient thing they've ever used. That's most of the feedback, 99% of it. But we've had so many partnerships that you actually can find a partnership like MoneyGram that went sideways and MoneyGram wanted to throw a little bit of shade. Big difference though. Now, speaking of throwing some shade, we're just reporting the facts here. Eleanor Terrett, according to a new SEC IG report, nearly a year's worth of text messages from former chair Gary Gensler were permanently lost due to a series of avoidable technology failures by the agency's Office of Information Technology. Darn it. Shoot. We lost almost a year of Gary. We call him good guy Gary Gensler, right? Because he's such a good guy. He cared so much about protecting investors. So we call him good guy Gary Gensler. We also call him Goldman Sachs Gary Gensler. This guy, we just so happened, it was avoidable, but for whatever reason, we lost some of that communication. The text included one sent and received by the former chair on his government phone between October 18th, 2022 and September 6th, 2023. See, just when I thought that I was going to be able to put away the red folder because we got the mandate, SEC and Ripple dropping their appeals, this case is wrapped up. And then we come to find out we have additional damages done, not just to the XRP community and added to the red folder, but to the folder that should be red, white, and blue to represent the American people and our capital markets, which should be the gold standard of capital markets across this world. But we've been dealing with a corrupt bureaucracy beast headed up by Gary Gensler and other absolute thieves, criminals who have used and abused their power at these bureaucratic agencies to cause significant damages to the average investor and also great companies like Ripple that have been trying to move forward. Now, the good news, it is all over. The red folder has been retired. At least I would like to. But, we still got new revelations coming out. And remember how long it has been pulling teeth. And I want to give a shout out real quick to Digital Asset Investor because I did know he had actually shared a podcast that he found with the chief deputy counsel from Ripple. And I was listening to this yesterday as I was driving down to Seattle. It was about a 20-minute podcast. And it was the chief deputy counsel sharing how impactful the XRP army was during the lawsuit, right? Trying to retrieve the information. And then once we got information unlocked, the XRP army and the sleuths started working through it and combing through it. And she talked about the impact we had. And I'm serious, not to be dramatic, but it did almost bring tears to my eyes to think of how far we've come. She was telling the stories about how she's never seen, hearings that were for just standard procedures in, opening hearings and stuff. We were blowing up the phones. They found out there was so much interest, so they open up a line for 5,000 people to call into the lawsuit. We fill up that line as well, too. And the impact that she laid out, how impactful it was. Digital Asset Investor, Digital Perspectives, and others, right? I could list off dozens of names of the XRP community, the sleuths, everybody that put forth an effort to help Ripple in this fight for the broader industry, all of this so that we could just continue to be attacked by everybody else, even though we fought on behalf of the entire industry. But I mean, I was thinking in just how impactful that was and how much that means, how powerful this grassroots movement is. And the funniest part about this, just to bring the point home, it goes to show you how organic the XRP community is, the XRP revolution, right? The XRP army. And now we can put away the red folder. Now we're no longer fighting. Now we can be called the XRP family because we want to get along. We want to be nice. We don't need to fight. We've put down our shields. At least we would like to, right? But to finally see, this victory and to get inside scoop from deputy, counsel at Ripple at the impact that we've had, it goes to show you how organic this community is. And for all of you new folks that have joined here now that the case is over, you're joining one of the strongest, if not the strongest community in crypto. And the beautiful thing about this is what we've been able to do before XRP price appreciation really takes place. This really gets fun on the other side of price appreciation. We really changed the world and helped bring about a level playing field, which has been what Ripple's spearheading on the XRP ledger, and then many other developers and members of the community pushing forward and working towards that same common mission the entire time as well too, making XRP a world reserve currency, as liquid as a G10 currency, and bringing about a level playing field. Winning on merit too, not winning by partnering up with the government, being chosen by the government like it was done with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, continuing on and talking about being chosen by the government, this Trump deal with World Liberty Financial had a little issue today, and that was Justin Sun getting his entire pre-allocation blacklisted or black hold, I guess. I don't know if they call it blacklisted or black hold, okay? But they're shutting it, they're freezing it. They're freezing all of Justin Sun's World Liberty Financial tokens after he apparently sold all of his users World Liberty Financial by trapping them with 20% APR. And I don't know if trapping's the right word, seducing them with 20% APR in his exchange Huobi to then dump them from OKX and Binance. And this guy says, Eric Trump, you guys can't beat Justin. He's the smartest scammer and you are just apprentices. Now, I'm just reading this tweet off. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm still waiting for all the details to come out about this. But Quentin, who's an Ethereum guy, he says if Justin Sun really lured in World Liberty Financial tokens from HTX users with a 20% APY to lock them and then sell them to get out of his position while they're still unvested, then he deserves to get his accounts frozen. Especially if just 2 days ago he said that he wouldn't sell any of his tokens, then he allegedly does exactly that in the sneakiest way possible. Yeah. And I've been warning, I've been critical of who the Trump sons are getting involved with. It has been a cause of concern for me and many other people that continue to pray and support our president. But I've also been careful to note there's a big difference between what his sons are doing and what President Trump is doing. Once again, Ripple meeting with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago having beef bourguignon. Right. Big difference from what the Trump brothers are doing out here, basically just trying to make their buck, make their deal. They see this opportunity in crypto for what it is, so they're doing digital asset treasury companies for Crow. They're doing a partnership. They're doing a Bitcoin mining company. They're getting involved with World Liberty Financial. They're using the Trump name to get involved here with a bunch of different projects. And the thing with World Liberty, it went live this week for public exchange trading. And when this happens, you just need to sit back because the early insiders, I was just listening to a space yesterday. These guys got in at a fully diluted value of maybe like 2 billion. And then it went live at a 30 billion valuation, fully diluted value. And that's already been cut in half. Now, I think it's bounced up from the lows today. It went down to like 17, maybe even below 16 cents. And it's since recovered slightly. But this is one of those things where you kind of have to let it play out, let the early insiders who are going to liquidate get out. And the problem that you have even at these current levels is that all of the insiders are still way into profit, whether it be Justin Sun or others, right? I'm not here to confirm that Justin Sun is guilty of doing that. I'm just here to say that I don't trust the guy, right? I'm allowed to have that opinion. Would I do a deal with Justin Sun? No, never. Okay. But hey, this is something that we've been watching. We're going to continue to observe it. But in the meantime, I think that this serves as a great example, right? Because a lot of people rushed in to get this one the day it went live. The problem that we see with this is that the early insiders, they did the same thing on Trump coin, Melania coin. It's the same pump cabal. I was listening to the guys yesterday. these guys will go wherever they can find liquidity, and they got in, and I was listening to Gary Cardone in the space with them yesterday, and he was talking about how when he realized at the inauguration celebration that everybody at the black tie event that, is here from the crypto industry. Wait, you guys are all getting ready to launch a meme coin? And he said it disgusted him. And I would echo those statements. We're on the brink of his inauguration. We're about to get a level playing field for crypto adoption, and we want to focus attention towards a meme coin. Not what I would like to see. Now, obviously, I'm not here to advise President Trump, his sons, and their business ventures. But if I was, I've been saying the entire time that we'd be moving a little bit different direction. And that is actually what I've noted the entire time, though, with President Trump, is he speaks of, XRP being in the strategic reserve, along with Solana, Cardano, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. And meanwhile, there's been a bunch of sharks kind of circling the waters, trying to make their bag and really exposing themselves the entire time. And so I just want to note the difference between who's actually showed up respectively to, the White House. And I think that Chainlink's been there. I think that Ondo's been there. I think that Ripple's done it. There's been a few others as well too. But it's a big difference from these pump cabals that literally want to use the president's platform to make a buck off of a meme coin. You're not representing our industry very well. I think you're actually holding us back. And now the Democrats and others are going to use this to stall up crypto regulations. That's the problem. That's the problem. Even if this does end up being a success, in the meantime, that's the problem, is that they'll use it for politics. But I'm watching to see if World Liberty Financial does find a floor here shortly. And then I may end up putting a bet in on it just because these guys are going to find a way to win, right? In my opinion, they will. And I did want to let you guys know that Caleb and Brown actually did just list World Liberty Financial today. So I wanted to let you guys know that. And then I actually just had a one-on-one call with somebody today from Norway, which was a really cool conversation. And guys, it truly is moving to hear from people around the world and connect with people around the world. And what's connecting us? This neutral bridge currency, XRP. And I talked with this guy from Norway, just a great gentleman. And we were talking about Caleb and Brown. And I had told him that I was going to check if Caleb and Brown was accessible in Norway, and it is. I have heard back from Jim and the team there at Caleb and Brown, and they are good to go in Norway. So I know they're still not available in the UK, Canada, New York State, but the rest of the world, they have a lot of coverage around the world. So check that out. They're listing World Liberty Financial, and so that may end up being the platform that I do go into World Liberty on. And let me be very clear, I would be going into World Liberty for just a short-term trade. Double it up, triple it up, take my money and run. Thank you very much for playing. But more so than that, I just want our industry to be represented well. And the rollouts of the Trump meme coin or Liberty Financial, it's been a little bit bumpy to say the least. But this is where we turn to the adults in the room. This is where we turn to who's actually going to represent us well. That has been Ripple. And what we're starting to see now is not just Ripple's efforts, but private and public companies that are choosing the XRP ledger and putting XRP on their balance sheet on their own. Bill Morgan finding another XRP treasury company today. Thumbs Up Media Corporation 8K filing with the SEC on September 4th showed that it purchased $2 million worth of Bitcoin in January for its digital asset treasury and has just completed a 50 million common stock offering to expand its crypto strategy. Now, this includes, for whatever reason, expanding their Dogecoin mining operation, okay? But it also includes a partnership with Coinbase Prime, expanding its digital asset treasury to include several other digital assets, including XRP. The company has connections to Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. The former is a shareholder. So another great find here by Bill Morgan. This is bringing the total digital asset treasury companies to over a dozen. And the news that we got yesterday was Vivo Power, which is probably the biggest commitment that we've seen for a digital asset treasury company. They are going to be partnering up here and working with Doppler Finance to earn yield on their treasury. I mean, basically, you're having public companies alongside us. I mean, we're doing the same thing together, where we're acquiring big bags of XRP, treating it like a reserve currency, but then none of us want to sell it. This is where the supply shock comes in. And I think still so many people are underestimating this. Joe Blows like me and you are going to hold XRP till the day we die and pass it off to the children as long as they behave themselves. But then public companies are doing this as well too. And none of us want to sell. We all just want to hold and earn yield off the assets. And so Doppler Finance puts out this post how a digital asset treasury company leverages Doppler Finance. They're going to deposit into Doppler. They're going to earn yield and then make a bigger treasury, which I got to comment. I wish it was that simple. I wish it was that easy. You guys know I've made some comments about Doppler Finance. I think that we could just give a little bit better presentation in the offering. There's a few things I think that we could touch on a little bit more in depth, like where does the yield actually come from? Because in this example here, they share, by enabling institutions like Vivo Power to generate sustainable yield directly from their reserves, Doppler makes a new chapter in digital asset treasuries. More to come. And all they show here is this graphic where you deposit into the Doppler vaults, and then they allocate it to their C DeFi strategies, which is a term that I had never heard until they made it up. Centralized DeFi. What is that, right? And basically, it's a combination of arbitrage, basis trading, and others. So if you trust Doppler, and they've been putting out returns, I think, of about 3% on average. 3 to 4% is, I think, what I've seen from Doppler. So I'm watching them. I'm watching everybody else. But what I love to see is what I really love to see is that you have digital asset treasury companies like Vivo who are not just putting it on their balance sheet, but they want to put it to work, which signals that they want to hold it, right? This is like companies that are putting Ethereum on their balance sheet, but they also want to stake Ethereum too. Same thing taking place here. There's just no staking on the XRP ledger. So, institutions and people like us are going to be putting our yield to work in centralized models like Doppler. We're going to be putting it into decentralized products like Flare. And by the way, Hugo was out today bull posting, which was pretty nice to see. It sounds like Flare is going to be rolling out F assets very soon. So you have centralized, C DeFi strategies from Doppler. You got DeFi solutions from Flare. These are just a couple examples. You have centralized offerings from Digital Wealth Partners. They have 2 XRP, the largest XRP funds, I should add, where they're providing yield on your XRP there. All of this locks up more XRP. See, they're already over $200 million in the Digital Wealth Partners. That's over 60 million XRP locked up. And this is only going to grow from here. We're going to have dozens of options for earning yield. All of it, though, allows people to hold their XRP versus having to go sell it. So we're removing all of the sell pressure from XRP with this DeFi rolling out at the perfect timing. Not only is it perfect timing for basically expanding our bull run and creating a super cycle, but it's also perfect timing as regulations get passed with the Clarity Act. That's what's important. Now, what we were missing was a stablecoin. RLUSD is now on the scene and it is growing rapidly. Jack McDonald gives us an update that we are now over 700 million in our market cap for RLUSD, powering enterprise finance from payments to tokenization to collateral across crypto and traditional markets. As global institutions' demand for RLUSD rises, Ripple is excited to work with our partners in Africa to kick off distribution on the continent. Driving utility, scaling globally, RLUSD is on the move. And he's retweeting the news that Ripple is going to be partnering up with Chipper Cash App, VALR.com, and Yellow Card app to unlock RLUSD in Africa, all across the continent there. Massive unlock and massive expansion of RLUSD. It's already in the top 100 cryptos, and it's only been live for less than a year. And I think that it's going to become the number 1 stablecoin by market cap probably within the next couple years. I mean, it might even happen sooner, but just base case being very ridiculously conservative, watch out. We're going to give Tether and Circle a run for their money. Big time. Literally. And so Jack McDonald commenting that we're already up here at 700 million, but this is nothing. That's nothing. Guys, meme coins on Solana are bigger than RLUSD. To put this into perspective, we have not even got this party started. We're not even at $1 billion in market cap yet. This thing's going to go to tens of billions, hundreds of billions of market cap, and very well could exceed $1 trillion. It could get to over $1 trillion market cap faster than any other stablecoin. I think that the only competition for Ripple, I'll give a little bit of respect on Tether and Circle, but I think that the big threat is the incumbents, because they have the ability to move some big money on by doing tokenized deposits, doing their own stablecoins, etc. But RLUSD growing rapidly, and that unlock in Africa is exactly why I'm here invested in XRP and what I've been praying for with a level playing field. This is what we want. Just like I spoke with the gentleman from Norway today, I want to be able to speak with people from every single continent around this planet, and XRP will be what connects us. God's money is what connects us. Gold, silver. Maybe XRP didn't come from, maybe it was alien. You know, David Schwartz is an alien. So I guess we could say that XRP is an intergalactic currency that came from the aliens. But if God created the aliens, then, well, I'm not going to get into theology. I'm just making a joke. But the point being, how XRP in XRP Ledger, we needed a stable coin that we could trust. We had USD, we had Tether, we had other stable coins on the XRP Ledger, but nobody trusted those issuers. And those issuers didn't have big institutional partners like Ripple that can really ramp up liquidity. Remember, Braza Bank out of Brazil, they moved over $1 billion of liquidity with their Brazilian real stablecoin across the XRP Ledger in Q3. Or was that Q2? What are we at? We're in September? Yeah, so that was a Q2 report, I believe. Or maybe they're on pace to do that in Q3. But either way, and you have the partner, the Schumann Financial, I think that's doing the European denominated stablecoin, and they're approaching the same level of volume as well too. And it's being reported that Ripple Payments has already surpassed over 70 billion in payment volume so far this year. We'll see what the final tally ends up being. Now, I only have a few more data points that I have to get through, and then I want to get to your guys' rapid fire Q&A. I appreciate everybody for stopping by, and for everybody, I see a few super chats have come in. I will make sure to get to those right away. I want to say cheers. And if you guys haven't already, you guys can check out the XRP family merch. We have it all at my shop. It's at zachrector.com. You just hit that shop tab, and that takes you straight there. I just sent over the 2 hats that I have behind me here. The black logo is already live on the website, but now we're adding the white logo. It's not available yet, but it will be available by tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And we got some new stuff on the way too that I think you guys are really going to like. So check out that. It's all at zachrector.com, all of our community resources. And once again, if you haven't already, make sure that you like this video if you appreciate what we're doing. God bless and cheers. So let's continue. Let's get to the good stuff, huh? That was just the warm-up. We got to set the context. The title of tonight's episode: BlackRock joins Ripple XRP Swell. They're coming to the Swell conference, along with many other institutional partners of Ripple. But I wanted to set the stage, provide context for those new people who didn't see it and missed it last year in January when BlackRock was rolling out their Bitcoin ETF, which ended up being the most successful ETF in the history of the world, continues to be. Over 50 billion total in all of the Bitcoin ETFs so far, big inflows, BlackRock leading the way. Larry Fink did a little tour where he started to talk about how cryptocurrencies were going to transcend traditional currencies. Robbie Mitchnick, who used to be at Ripple, went to BlackRock to head up digital assets, and he is the one that is credited with actually helping Larry Fink see the light. Some people say take the orange pill, but clearly they're not just involved in Bitcoin, they're involved in Ethereum and other digital assets and other efforts as well too. But while doing this tour, he went on to Fox Business to speak with Charlie Gasparino. I'm going to run the clip here real quick. Larry Fink asked directly if there were any plans for a BlackRock XRP ETF. What did he have to say? Let's run it.
Will you do another ETF? How about an XRP ETF? I know you got Ether out there. How about XRP? Can you answer that?
I can't.
How about XRP? Can you answer that? I can't.
Now, before I play this clip from Brad, I want to remind everybody, he went on to say, Charlie, you wouldn't like what I had to say. Now, Charlie, he's been a big XRP hater. He's been talking crap on Ripple, on the XRP army, on everybody. He's been saying that we're guilty. The experts that he talks to says that Ripple was going to lose the case and be found guilty, right? And he's one of those that jumps on the fact that Ripple did get a small traffic violation, right? A small little violation of the securities law. And it was a registration violation too. No fraud, nothing serious. Registration, right? And so Charlie Gasparino, he's the type to jump on that and say, yeah, we told you that they were going to be found guilty, right? Even though we won on every other point that mattered. But Charlie Gasparino wouldn't like what Larry Fink had to say. That's how Larry Fink followed that up. Now, the day that interview happened, I'll never forget. I was down in Scottsdale, Arizona on family vacation in January of 2024. And I remember doing a video in the backyard of the Airbnb saying, guys, we just got confirmation. Because if the answer was no, Larry Fink would have said no. He's asked directly. It's a yes or no question. And if the answer is not no, and if the answer is, I can't speak on that, and oh, by the way, Charlie, I don't think that you'd like my answer, is 2 + 2 still equal 4, even in Common Core new mass? Or do I need to be updated on that? Right? That day, I put out a video calling and saying that BlackRock was going to do an XRP ETF and that was the confirmation. Now, let's let Brad Garlinghouse speak on the matter.
Are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly BlackRock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall.
Will you do another ETF? How about an XRP ETF? I know you got Ether out there. How about XRP? Can you answer that?
I can't.
How about XRP?
And look at that grin on Larry Fink. I have never seen Larry Fink so happy in my life. He looks like he's having a great time. Well, fast forward. November 2025, Ripple Swell Conference, New York, November 4th, November 5th. Look who's showing up, folks. Maxwell Stein, Director of Digital Assets at BlackRock. That's right. Now, when you go through this, the list, I mean, it's nothing but big hitters coming through. It is nothing but big hitters coming through. Neatsbuck says what we were all thinking. You typically invite your own partners to your own conference. Ripple's head of strategic partnership hosts heads from Franklin Templeton, Fidelity, and Citi to discuss how banks will shape the future of digital assets. We slide on over here to the official agenda for the Ripple Swell Conference. And this is it right here. And I want to slide on down and just show you some of these names right here. Now, this Schumann Financial, this Martin Brunko, founder and CEO of Schumann Financial, they're the ones doing the digital euro. And I think that they're going to be taking their volume to $1 billion on a quarterly basis. That'll probably be achieved in Q3 or Q4. Massive, massive growth there. Amina Bank, for all those people saying that Ripple doesn't work with banks, Amina Bank showing up. Session on ETFs. We got CEO of Bitwise, Hunter Horsley, CEO of Canary Capital, Stephen McClurg, who said that we are going to see 5 billion of inflows into the XRP ETFs first month. Luke Horston, founder and CEO of Bitnomial. Ripple product demo, that should be interesting. A few more players coming in. Europe policy director for Ripple, member of the European Parliament, Billy Callear. Roberto Silva, chairman, CNV of Argentina. How about this session right here? Unlocking the future of prime brokerage and clearing with Ripple. Hidden Road, CME, Jack McDonald, Carolyn Weinberg from BNY Mellon, Jeremy Smart from XTX Markets, and Nigel Kaku, Vice President Trading and Markets at Ripple. How global banks are shaping the future of digital assets. Franklin Templeton, Head of Innovation, Sandy Call. She's been making her rounds. We've been playing some of her clips. Big hitters coming on stage here for this one. Fidelity, Cynthia Lowe Bissett. That's the Head of Fidelity Digital Asset Management. Ryan Rugg, Global Head of Digital Assets, Treasury and Trade Solutions at Citi. All this talk about how Citi is going up against Ripple. Remember that? Didn't they debank Brad Garlinghouse? Citibank debanked Ripple. This is what I love about Brad and the team at Ripple. We get attacked and literally debanked by Citi. And instead of throwing a fit, we say, hey, let's continue to expand our partnership and let's stay close. Why don't you come speak at our event? That's how Ripple does it, right? I absolutely love it. Brad Garlinghouse gets debanked from Citibank, and yet he still invites and opens up the stage for Citi to show up. Ryan Rugg, welcome. They'll be joined by Pat Thalen, who is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Ripple. How about that one? That's going to be big. Sliding on down to day 2. Yep, more policy discussions. Meet the National Cryptocurrency Association. That'll be interesting with Stuart Alderati. Combating crypto crime. Coinbase will be there as well, too. And then Brad Garlinghouse to finish up. Keynote to end off day 2. Nothing but big hitters coming through to Ripple Swell Conference. And the fact that BlackRock is showing up. If you're not interested, if you're not doing an XRP ETF, if there is no partnership, you just come out and say that. When asked by Charlie Gasparino, you say, no, we don't care to do an XRP ETF. Which is like BlackRock saying, no, we don't want to make a bunch of money. You think that's ever going to come out of their mouth? No, we're going to let this opportunity pass us up. If you're not going to be partnered up with Ripple, or if you're not partnered up with Ripple, you don't show up at an event like this, right? Yet we have Citi, Fidelity, BNY Mellon, multiple banks, multiple institutions, head of policy, parliament, government, etc. The list goes on and on. Nothing but big hitters coming through. All because, why? Because they're wanting to partner up with Ripple, or they already are partnered up with Ripple, and they're interested in the XRP ledger and acquiring XRP. That's the only reason why you show up, right? This is not a general crypto conference. This is not, it's a conference that's going to be talking about a lot, all the way from policy, right? Policy conversations. I think some of the conversations even on charity work as well too, and the impact that Ripple's having with all of their charity work, which is industry leading. They'll be talking about ETFs. They're going to be talking about tokenization. They'll be talking about everything, with the focus and the lead being hosted by Ripple and XRP. Just the fact that BlackRock is showing up tells me all I need to know. Tells me all I need to know. The fact that all of these parties want to come join. Now, not many of these people were willing to stand up for us and, willing to admit, yes, we're partnered up with Ripple. Yes, we bought XRP. Yes, we made sure that we got ourselves 1 billion XRP pre-allocated, like R3. Yeah, of course, we wanted 5% of the entire XRP supply. Yeah, we signed a 3-year option contract to execute XRP purchases under a penny for 3 years in the amount of 5 billion XRP total. Yeah, we did that. That's R3. That's a real deal. Now, mind you, if those deals were being done back in 2016, here we are nearly a decade later. Folks, it's game on. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this for tonight's episode, as I go into the chart action, the price action, the targets, and the timeline, is to show you what we have lined up here. As I set the stage at the very beginning, the economic data coming out that provides the environment for rate cuts. Rate cuts coming up. ETFs coming up in October, and then Ripple Swell Conference in November. Now, before Ripple Swell Conference, October 14th, 15th, sometime in there, is when DC FinTech Week takes place. Paul Atkins is going to be there. The other thing that came out today is the Federal Reserve is going to have their own like workshop or some sort of deal on upgrading the payment system. And I think that that's taking place in October as well, too. Guys, but between here and the end of the year, it's a sprint. And I was thinking about this yesterday, a couple days ago on Labor Day. I was out on a nature walk with my family. And we went to Whatcom Falls Park, which is a beautiful park in my area. And we were looking at the water, and I had taken a couple of videos of the water flowing. And I was just thinking to myself, I said, gosh, I should make a TikTok right now. But I was out with the family. I did end up making a TikTok, but we were busy enough, and I was thinking to myself, this would be a perfect TikTok, a perfect illustration. If I make a TikTok right here with that waterfall in the background, to show folks what's literally taking place right now. What you see in the waterfall trickling behind me is what you see in the financial markets right now as far as low volume, low liquidity. It's flowing, right? We can see traction. We can see liquidity coming in. It is growing. It is consistent. It is steady. But it's picking up. And in fact, we were just at the low point. This is the driest point in August up in my neck of the woods, where the rivers and the waters are going to be at their lowest. Same thing taking place in our financial markets. But by the end of this year, that waterfall is going to be flowing. It's going to be rushing. And that's exactly what's going to take place in our markets. And sometimes people need that illustration, which is why I thought I should have made a TikTok. It's a perfect example. It's the summer slowdown. And despite the summer slowdown, we still held up so well. All before the floodgates open up. The dam breaks. And the coordinated launch of XRP takes place, where it goes to $20 to $30 in the base case. And I think $50 is on the table. Outside of Ripple, XRP Ledger Adam put out this post. I wanted to read this off to you real quick before I get to your guys' super chats and your rapid fire Q&A. Get your questions ready, folks. Just a couple more points here, and then we're going to go right on into it. But these are indisputable XRP facts that it's important to remind folks of. XRP has been used for remittances and cross-border payments for years and will continue to do so. XRP is a lot more than just what Ripple is doing. See RWA, equity, asset tokenization, DeFi, NFTs, etc. Hundreds or even thousands of projects building on top of the XRP ledger or implementing XRP. See, my favorite example right now is the public company out of China that's going to use the XRP ledger for logistics. That's the best example. No partnership with Ripple. They just decide to use the XRP ledger, and the use case is logistics, which nobody had on their radar. Logistics was going to be on VeChain. Logistics was going to be on something else. The Chainlink bros would probably tell us it was going to be over there. And a public company out of China decides to use the XRP ledger for supply chain. Another great example. ROUSD is rapidly closing in on a $1 billion market cap and a top 100 token. It will be a backbone of liquidity for DeFi on the XRP ledger. Stablecoins will eat banks alive if they don't adopt and implement current stablecoins dominating the market. This is why they're so threatened and why the Bankers Association is writing letters to the OCC to stop Ripple and others from getting the bank charter. They are terrified. Publicly traded companies are buying XRP to hold on their balance sheet, and there are 15 XRP ETFs waiting for approval by the SEC. Floodgates are going to open up, folks. XRP is the third highest market cap layer 1, has one of the highest holder bases in all of crypto, and has been the longest in the top 10 outside of Bitcoin. It is not going away. These are 5 indisputable facts about XRP, no matter what all these other guys try to say. Quick update on the markets, quick update on the bull run, and then we'll go rapid fire Q&A. Symbiote here on X says, September dump has already happened. We are repeating the 2017 pattern in a day. Biggest pump is ahead. Now, what it shows us is that Bitcoin in the month of August of 2017 had hit a low, but then it did one more low there in September before it blasted off to a new all-time high. And it went from under $3,000 per Bitcoin all the way up to about 17,000. And I think it actually just fell short of 20,000 on that run, right? Same spot for Bitcoin right now, where Bitcoin hit that low in August, hit a fresh low here August into September. We have finished up this move. Hedge funds, Wall Street is back from the yacht, back from the beach house, back from summer vacation. Volume's about to pick up. And XRP is perfectly positioned in a similar spot. And on our timeline here, going out to our green vertical line, which is October 17th, by then we're expecting a $4 to $7 XRP. And that's just the run up before ETFs go live. Once the ETFs go live, well, I have an XRP monthly multiplier from November 2024 that was 883x. If you throw that multiplier on 5 billion of inflows first month that Canary Capital predicted, you're talking about a $70 XRP potentially. That's just what the data says. That's not what I'm saying. That's what the data says. Once again, I back up everything that we're doing right now with real analysis and real data. And when it is time to speculate, we acknowledge that it's speculation and we explain how we've come to such a hypothesis backed by data. And everything is still in structure. We survived August and the slowdown. September's slow to get started back up again. But we're right where we're at in all of these cycles where Bitcoin dominance falls off and the altcoins get ready to go. Now, XRP's at 281. It's holding up, right? Consolidation here. I'm on the daily chart. Consolidation here over the past week. It's holding up. It's fine. Nothing to worry about. And Bitcoin dominance is staying below 60%, confirming that we're still in alt season territory. We are ready to see XRP go to double digits after these ETFs. And I think even the move here before the ETFs go live is going to shock people between now and October. But I want everybody to know that time is running out, right? The flow of liquidity that's coming in here is most definitely on the way. We can track what happened with the Bitcoin ETFs. We can track what's happened with the Ethereum ETFs. And now it's not just the ETFs, it's digital asset treasury companies. And it's happening at the same time that Clarity Act goes live and institutional DeFi on the XRP ledger goes live. Remember, you come to watch me share my analysis. To protect myself, I try to actually keep things ridiculously conservative. Even my conservative targets, some people say, is clickbait, it's not going to happen, you're crazy, you need to be shut down. Some people say that too. And like I always say, you know, the thumbs down button is right there. The comment section's right down below. Tell me how you really feel, please. I really do. I tell us how you really feel. If it makes you feel better, smack it, okay? But the point being, I share what I believe is ridiculously conservative predictions as far as targets and timelines to cover myself, because I know that people are waiting to clip me up and to take me out on every time we make a prediction. The reason why I don't shy away is because I'm here to make money, just like I know many of you guys are here as well too. And one thing that I have real conviction in is holding XRP, treating XRP like a reserve. Now, with many of these other cryptocurrencies, I can't say the same. And I've been honest with you guys on that issue, right? I've been honest with you guys on my portfolio. I've been honest in how I evaluate and look at some of these other projects. And there's a big difference between assets that we can put on our balance sheet as a reserve and other assets that are simply just a trade. In exchange, I'm going to try to buy low. I'm going to try to sell high. No, I don't think that this is going to be lasting utility. No, I don't think that this is going to be part of the new financial system. But goodness gracious, this meme coin on the XRP ledger made me laugh and it has some motion. So I'm going to buy low and sell high and see what happens. And if I get wrecked, I take full accountability and responsibility for my actions, right? But I just want to know that it always makes me laugh when I put out my targets and timelines, because people say, these are out of the world. These are crazy. You should be deplatformed on one end. And then on the other end, people say, you don't know what XRP's utility is. It needs to be at $100 or $1,000 to fund and supply all this liquidity. And those people must be new here, because we absolutely do understand the utility. We absolutely have broken down those numbers. And in fact, we've taken it further than really anybody else by showing you what it's going to take in real inflows. Past clickbait, past hopium, past shilling, just straight to the data. Hey, where does 2 + 2 equal 589 for XRP? And we show you that math. And now it's really a nice spot, because I can just sit back and say, hey guys, here's what the data says. And I want you to note that all during this past month, during a regular summer slowdown where the market always overreacts to bad news, that's what took place here again. Market came down, and note, all these content creators, all these people run around, all this FUD, all this nonsense, the bull runs over. And then you had other folks, not just me, but many other good creators out here too, who showed up with real analysis, real data, real fundamentals that helped paint a picture of where we go between now and the end of the year, but then even the potential of the super cycle. And what I'm looking forward to most is just establishing a much higher floor price on XRP and some of these other assets after this bull run, where XRP tops out 20, 30, 50 bucks, still sees a big pullback, but establishes a floor price that maintains XRP at a price level that's already a generational wealth bag for many of us, but then just forms a base for us to continue growing from there. That's what I'm looking forward to. But I have almost gone an hour tonight, and I wanted to get into some comments and questions, so I'm going to do at least 30 minutes of rapid fire Q&A. I still have a lot of my cold adult beverage to sip on, so let's enjoy ourselves. If you appreciate what we're doing, let's make sure that we like this video. Our community resources are linked up down below, and let's get right on into the rapid fire Q&A. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. Let's get right on into it. I didn't like your style at first, then you grew onto me. Thank you for being yourself, XRP Army. Thank you. Altus Plateau, I appreciate that comment. We will always stay true to you guys. We are not going anywhere either. Even after XRP goes to 589, we'll still be here giving you the daily updates. We'll be looking for the next opportunities. We won't be done making money, and we won't be done changing the world, God willing. Amen. 1970 Legend, thank you for the chat, brother. Yeah, sometimes, I don't know why, stream's been glitching a little bit lately. Hopefully the audio's coming. It looked like everybody had commented saying that the audio was coming through good. I turned it up a notch for tonight's show, so you should notice a little bit difference. We should be a little bit louder here tonight, okay? Chosen One Collecting, is it too late to get into gold? Is it overbought? For me, I'm looking to rotate into gold potentially after that ratio comes back to the mean. And I'm talking about the gold to silver ratio. So I may potentially just sell some of my silver, rotate it into gold, and that's how I'll acquire gold. I've just been more bullish on silver's price action at the current levels and the current dynamic, and so I've just been stacking silver myself. I have not moved into gold yet, but I'm considering rotating, or maybe I just will end up allocating some capital at some point. But I just haven't found it necessary with my current portfolio and my current position to need to allocate towards gold at the current, the current levels, right? Although gold's performed really well, and I've been saying our defensive measures are outperforming Wall Street's offensive measures in the S&P 500, but my XRP is also outperforming my gold by a lot, and many of my other cryptos as well too. And I treat these assets on two different sides of my portfolio. Crypto's on my offensive side, precious metals is on the defensive side of my portfolio. So, is it too late? I don't think it is. But I'm still going to try to be strategic in how I enter into my gold position. Yeah, Dennis, I saw the price multiplier calculator that Dom and Phil put out. Those guys are so smart. Those guys are absolute geniuses. And this is what I've been kind of waiting for, actually, is I'm like, this shouldn't come down to me scribbling on my notebook, pulling these calculations together. Somebody much smarter than me can figure out a way to, pull this equation together. It's a simple equation. You just need to be able to find the data points. And the only problem that I have on trying to find the multiplier on these other assets is that they don't have good order flow data being reported to CoinGlass. On some of these cryptos, they're not traded on tier 1 exchanges. And so we just don't get good data on the order book flows to be able to, do our equation on the multiplier on small meme coins or other small cryptos. But with XRP and other cryptos that are on tier 1 exchanges, it's very easy to gather that data and do the equation. And I'm happy to see that Dom and Phil have hopped on that and created such a product. That's incredible. This is where it's always been a team effort in the XRP family, whether it be the red fold during the lawsuit, going through, sleuthing through the documents, or whether it be, just trying to understand how high XRP could go. It's a team effort, sharing the truth, and what they're building with EZA is just magnificent. So all the best to them. So much respect. I got to meet Dom in XRP Las Vegas. We're very lucky and fortunate to have those guys in the XRP family. Christopher Marcel, hopefully I didn't butcher that one too bad. My apologies, Christopher. If BlackRock were to miss this XRP ETF run, it would be tantamount to financial negligence as a fiduciary. They can't do that. Yeah. If I had my money with BlackRock and they weren't doing the XRP ETF, I'd have some questions. Now, it's just impossible. There's no way that BlackRock's not going to do an XRP ETF. I will be shocked if they do not get their filing in. And they're lucky, I think, that they knew all along that they had a new SEC chair coming in, an SEC that was going to provide the checklist. And so my speculation, my tinfoil hat, is that they knew they were going to be able to slip this one in last minute and not show their cards, which probably allowed them to actually accumulate and pick up their positions of XRP beforehand, which I actually meant to show that to you guys tonight. Somebody had tagged me. There's an account on Twitter that's been tracking some Coinbase wallets and other XRP Ledger wallets and finding some interesting things. One of them being the Coinbase cold storage wallets that are getting drained. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about right here real quick. So I had retweeted it because somebody was trying to FUD, of course. Somebody was trying to FUD. So Coin Bureau puts out this post about Coinbase dumping XRP, saying data from XRP scan shows that Coinbase slashed its XRP stash from 780 million to 199 million in weeks, a 69% cut. Once the fifth largest holder, Coinbase is now 10th. Institutional outflows look to be driving the plunge. Right. And so I retweeted and I said the title should have read Coinbase XRP supply getting drained, because that's what's happening. Coinbase inflows into XRP, or another way to say that would be dollars into XRP on Coinbase, have been steady and growing since November of last year. Our community then moves the XRP to self-custody or institutional custody. And I ask, is this going to be part of that supply shock incoming? Because what's happening is we're taking and we're depositing money onto Coinbase. We trade it to XRP, and then we take it off of Coinbase. We put it onto cold storage for self-custody, or we send it to platforms like Caleb and Brown for institutional grade custody, right? And that's what I put down here. I said self-custody in combination with Caleb and Brown is how I am securing my XRP right now. Right? Off to cold storage, buried in the backyard in a treasure chest, never to be brought out of the ground ever again. And then we move some of it to institutional grade custody, which is free, by the way, at Caleb and Brown. And that's the XRP that I plan on trading this bull run. Okay. So what was interesting though, and I'm going to see if I can find the comment because somebody had tagged me in this. I lost it. It's in my notifications somewhere, probably buried. I wanted to see if I can find this real quick. This is a great meme that somebody posted of me. They took my profile picture, which is me holding up the Bitcoin Maxi Tears jar at XRP Las Vegas, and they made a little Maxi Tears figurine kit. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, that's not what I was looking for, but that was pretty good. Where is it? I thought it was right down here. October 21st, 2025 is when the Federal Reserve Board will be meeting to have their conference on digital assets. Right here, XRP Wallets is the Twitter handle. We have tracked Coinbase cold wallets and storage drained after years of inactivity in just a few months. This could very well be related. And he notes here, Coinbase selected by BlackRock to provide Aladdin clients access to crypto trading and custody via Coinbase. And what he found here is Coinbase Cold Wallet Tracker, 52 Coinbase Cold Wallets total, and these all got drained. Or a lot of these did get drained, I should say. And so this is XRP that Coinbase had in cold storage, and what the exchanges will do is they have hot wallets, and that's where your XRP is at that you're trading and have on their platform. And then outside of their hot wallets, they'll have cold storage wallets where they'll have additional digital assets held as well too. And then when their supply on their hot wallets gets drained, then they can pull from the cold storage and bring it there. But what's been happening now is Coinbase Prime has become a big partner for institutional clients, and now BlackRock and Aladdin clients are going to be able to tap into Coinbase institutional prime brokerage and custody there. And so it's been interesting to note that this coincides with some big wallets on Coinbase getting drained. Now, are they getting ready to fund some of the ETF issuers? I believe they are. I believe that they are, if they haven't already. Right? Getting some XRP into the hands. And this is where the real supply shock and controlled launch takes place for XRP, is because Ripple won't be able to sell to the ETF issuers directly. That was where Judge Torres ruled that institutional partners or institutional sales were a security. So from my understanding right now, Ripple won't be able to sell to the ETF issuers directly. They'll have to sell to centralized exchanges and OTC desks like Coinbase, where the ETF issuers can pick up from. Now we're seeing the wallet activity. Now we just need to wait for the official announcement that the BlackRock XRP ETF is going to, that they've made their filing and that they are going to do it. But this is going to drive a real supply shock on XRP if this is, how it's going to have to be done. And I haven't found anything to the contrary. And once again, I'm reading some of your guys' comments right now too. Remember, I put out the asterisk right next to my targets and timelines. I'm trying to stay extra conservative, because if I say XRP is going to 20 to 30 bucks and XRP tops out at 19.99, everybody's going to come attack me. I can't wait for that day. It's going to be a good time. Because we'll have made a lot of money in the meantime. Okay. Let's go rapid fire Q&A though. Thank you so much. And we still have a couple super chats to get through here as well. Thomas Conservative, people thought that VeChain was needed for logistics. Anyone could do logistics, but XRP does it with reliability, and you have better liquidity. And I think that is the big advantage, right? That the XRP ledger has versus every other ledger. Some of them have good throughput, like transactions per second. You have efficient and fast tech, but you want liquidity and you want assets on the chain. And that comes from institutional partners. So VeChain has had some partners. They've been working in logistics, but there definitely was more room. And the problem that I've always had with the logistics use case, it was a use case where you didn't necessarily need a token with value. You can do logistics on QR codes on centralized databases just fine. Probably more efficiently even than on some decentralized systems, right? We're operating just fine now with QR codes. And once again, you can put all of that onto distributed ledger technology. It just doesn't need to have a token necessarily with the value to run that network. So I always thought that there was that threat to not just VeChain, but any other ledger that was focusing on the logistics utility. It's a legitimate use case and utility, but do you need a token with value? For the bridge currency use case for cross-border payments, you do need a token with value, especially in corridors where there's not as tight of liquidity. Okay, there's not as deep of liquidity pools on either side. There's high friction in between. Those specific corridors is where you need XRP specifically. Armando says, if it hits 20 bucks, I'm finding you and giving you a hug. I think that by next year, we're going to be having some parties. We're going to be having some fun. And it's going to be a really good time. We're going to be giving some hugs. It's going to be a really good time. Desert, thank you. I was looking at your past videos and wanted to ask you whatever happened to the Fed's buying back of XRP. That's what the red folder was all about, was having a conversation about defending the XRP army against the lawsuit. So the buyback conversation, a lot of it got taken out of context. A lot of people misunderstood. It was one of the most misunderstood things that we've ever talked about. And what I did is I tried to provide clarity to the community on what the conversation was actually meant to do. The conversation was meant to protect the XRP community. Did we really think that we were going to get a buyback done? The idea was to put up a defense and say, hey, you're not going to get this from us for free. And you're not going to get this from us without us putting up a fight. That's what the red folder was about. That's what the buyback was about. That's what the valuation models were about, which were hypothetical scenarios and valuation models, not price predictions. Big difference. Because everybody said, oh, you guys are saying XRP is going to 35,000. You're saying it's going to 50,000. You're saying, Dave Lyon said it's going to six figures. Those are valuation models that were hypotheticals that were designed to aggregate different prices and the fundamental value for XRP to generate a defense so that if the government tried to come take it, we could have at least put out an offer and put a price on the asset beforehand. And I know people thought we were crazy for doing so, but look at what the damage done. Look at the damage done to the community. On top of that, look at the historical precedent where they did confiscate and take the gold and then revalue it at a higher price. So this was an effort by American patriots and people around the world, I should mention, to defend the XRP family. But, now the case is over. The XRP family continues to be damaged by the Link2 situation, which is very unfortunate. That's the next red folder, you could say, is the Link2 situation. We continue to keep tabs on that one. Yeah, but at this point, there is no more confidential committee. I almost do wish that we would still pursue something, but I also want to see all of the red folder and all the case behind us as well too, right? Because once again, what are the odds of even winning any sort of case like that, compensation for damages, right? But yeah, I thought it was a very important effort that we that I was a part of. I wasn't part of the valuation committee. I wasn't part of the tech. All I was media covering it. And that was my position. Just like now with the link to situation is I'm just here to cover and report back, what our options are. Right. But yeah, that's what ended up happening with that. Dennis, thank you for another super chat, my friend. Huge TPS coming. Wrote on X today. David Schwartz spinning up a super node in New York City to pair with permission DEX. Yeah. So, and that's a great example too of David Schwartz showing us that anybody can fire up a node on the XRP ledger and a validator. This is a validator that David Schwartz has fired up that's not with Ripple, has no connection with Ripple. It's just David Schwartz wanted to do some additional testing, and he's testing out some things over there, and he decided to fire it up. Yeah. John, thank you for the 20 spot. What do you think about the Gemini holding 1,000 in account before any other funds can be traded with? Is this normal? I'm not aware of that, John. Did anybody else comment on that? Gemini holding 1,000 in account before any other funds can be traded? Was there any? OKX has some sneaky moves like this too. Has anybody else seen this? I'm going to go rapid fire Q&A here too. Rapid fire Q&A. Has anybody else seen this from Gemini? I'm waiting for the Gemini card, my physical card, to get here. I'm excited to use it. XRP Shaman, thank you for the 589. Zach, are you going to the New York event on November 5th? I am not at liberty to discuss my plans at this current time, but I will update you guys. But I'm currently not at liberty to share with you guys. But I'm curious about this Gemini deal. That's interesting. I still got to create my wallet, and I got to upload my ID. So I'll see if I have any issues on that, and I'll let you guys know. Yeah. A lot of people saying that they haven't ran into that issue. 1970 Legend says that never happened to me. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't think that that's an issue. And from what I've seen some of their content and videos on the card. I'm excited to finally try it out for myself too. Basically they're showing how the XRP lands in your account before you even get your coffee order or your lunch, whatever you order or swipe with, by the time you're done filling up at the pump, the XRP is already in your account. And then from my understanding, you're free to pull that XRP off right away. You just need to verify. Yeah, Becky, you've been using it from your phone. Yeah, I got that too. Well, I'm excited to make some content for them once I get my card, and we'll see how it works out. How many XRP do you own, Zach? Well, my standard answer always has been and will stay the same. I just have a few XRP tucked somewhere special. Just a couple. Just in case. Doesn't each transaction equal a taxable event? No, because you're spending fiat. So you're spending fiat and then you're receiving the reward. It's like a rebate. And so the way I looked this up, because somebody asked us in our Discord group, and I double checked it, it's the same thing as airline miles. So airline miles are not taxable. It's just viewed as a rebate. So yeah, there's no issue there. You're spending fiat, which is not a taxable event. And then you're getting an XRP rebate essentially. So yeah, not a taxable event until you would go to cash out your XRP, right? If you sold your XRP for dollars, then you'd have a taxable event. Yeah. Oh, somebody asked me about World Liberty Financial. I think that they'll end up winning just because the Trumps will find a way. And, they're partnered up with some people I think that aren't outright fraudsters. I just think that there's been some questionable dealings there. And Justin Sun is not somebody that I trust particularly well. But I do think that it'll end up playing out as far as an opportunity. I mean, I would just look to get in and get out. You have to understand, guys, this is how the game's played in crypto. This is not just the Trump coin. This is not just World Liberty Financial. This is crypto in a nutshell. It's the same group of it's the same pump cabal. There's different, pump cabals, but it's the same thing. It's the same methodology of extracting value out of our people. Our people in crypto keep on getting hurt by all these projects because it's the same group that gets in early with pre-sales. Once again, all of the insiders, like on the first round, round one of pre-sale money, the valuation was like $1 billion. And I think that the round two was at similar. I'll look this up real quick just to show you guys. The first round in January 2025 was at a price of 0.015. So 1.5 cents was the first pre-sale. The day after the inauguration, the second round, the day after the inauguration, was at 5 cents. And these prices reflected the respective valuations of 1.5 billion and for the first round and 5 billion for the second on a fully diluted basis. And then it went live for the public. It went live for the public at a 30 billion valuation. So you just have to look. I mean, it's just looking across, okay, who's got a bag of this thing? And relative to them, when am I coming into this thing? I'm coming in late compared to them. They have big bags. Now, they're not supposed to be selling and dumping, but Justin Sun found a way. These guys get really slick with it. I'm going to be careful with my words not to call him a scammer, but these guys come up with some elaborate schemes to be politically correct and nice. They come up with some elaborate schemes where they get you to deposit your World Liberty Financial into HTX, their exchange, and then they get to take it and then they dump it potentially. This is the allegation, not confirming or denying it, just saying this is the allegation that's being reported. I'm sure Justin Sun would never do such a thing. And this is what you're up against trying to get into a project this late. And so if you are getting into this project at this moment, what should you expect, right? For me, this would be a momentum trade. This would be, let me double up, let me triple up, let me say, see you later, goodbye, thank you for playing, and I'll take my money and run. Because I know I didn't get in at less than 2 cents. I didn't get in at 5 cents. I am getting in at 18 cents, I think is where it's at here today. Here's your World Liberty Financial chart right here. You only have a few days. This is on Coinbase, right? So the day it went live, it ran all the way up to about 31 cents. And then it hit fresh lows today down at 16 cents, like I'd mentioned earlier. Popped back up a little bit, and now here it is at 18 cents. But the problem that you're up against is this thing could bleed out for quite some time before it finds a floor price, because those pre-sale investors, they're still way up. they still have a 5x. They could still have a 10x. And so as this thing bleeds out, more and more of them may decide, hey, I need to unload what I got. And they might still have more tokens being unlocked that'll be vested with them, but they're just going to dump what they have right now. Right? And so I'm sitting this one out. I'm waiting and watching it play out. But I broke all of this down here just to explain how I evaluate new projects like this. You just have to go in knowing that I'm late relative to the insiders, which is fine. If I go in with the expectation that I'm going to catch this momentum, it already has some motion. Let's hop on it, but then get the heck out of here, right? After you double and triple it up. Don't expect to come in and 10x it again. At least not anytime soon. This project could very well end up being a success, though, just because of the people that are involved. But I need to do a deep dive on what all they're really trying to accomplish, which appears to be a focus on tokenization. Yeah, if you guys are being bombarded with the ads, my apologies. I actually set the ads on the live show to like medium. So I don't have them like at like max ad revenue, even though, you know, that is how we make a living around here. No doubt about that. This is why I pay for YouTube Premium. I don't watch and listen to as much YouTube as I used to, but I used to spend 6 to 10 hours a day listening to YouTube and podcasts. Not for quite some time. This is back when I was in my property service business, and I would have 6 to 10 hours a day where I could be plugged in. And so I would pound out audiobooks in 2 days. So yeah, I paid for YouTube. It was like $12 a month. I don't know what the current price is per month, but I still pay for it, so I don't have to watch any ads over there. All right, let's get some more Q&A in here. Let's go rapid fire with it. Isn't it funny though? I don't know about you guys, but I have no tolerance for ads anymore. Like, it drives me nuts when my wife is playing her YouTube and an ad comes on. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, wait, no. We don't watch ads on YouTube, you know? And even the thing that drives me nuts is now on the streaming services that run ads even after you pay. And on I swear one of them I paid extra for no ads and they were still running ads. And I'm thinking, what do I got to pay to get no ads? If I have to pay an extra $5-10 a month, take my money. I don't watch ads. I mean, once you no longer watch TV, right? And then, you know, I pay for YouTube Premium, so it's like I live in an ad-free world. Andrew Lewis, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thank you for coming in. And that looks like a good question right there. Zach, first off, and thank you for all that you do. Would you mind sharing your current thoughts on DEG? Thank you. Yeah, I'm still very bullish on DEG. I still think that at the current levels, it has tremendous upside. I think that it'll follow along with XRP. It's another utility cryptocurrency based in America. They're still growing partnerships. They're building out some cool things on the network. Just the other day, I saw that they gifted some DEG to Elon. I don't even really know how they did that, but apparently they gifted some DEG to Elon. This thing's been bleeding out though on the chart. It's back down to 3 cents, but I just see big upside on DEG. I'll show you my chart here real quick. So it ran 350% after the election, and I think that it has a good chance of running back up here, approaching its previous all-time high. But, I mean, shoot, at 3 cents now, if this sucker runs back up even to 30 cents, you got a 10x. And I think that that could pretty easily be done. Even if you want to cut that in half and it only runs up to, you know, 15 cents, 20 cents, you're still talking 500-600% on DEG. So I'm very, very bullish on this one still. Consolidating right now, but they're building. I mean, they're still building. They're still working. And for those of you guys that didn't catch my DAG deep dive, that's in my 2025 coin review playlist as well. Zach, would you buy Ripple stock through SPV or just buy more XRP? Well, if you do buy Ripple stock, make sure you're doing it through a platform that's not doing shady stuff like Link2. Obviously, that's been a very unfortunate situation there. D Viles, thank you for the Galaxy. I really appreciate that on TikTok. I know that the Galaxy is a big gift, and I don't know the exact dollar amount, but I really do appreciate that gift. Thank you. For anybody else on TikTok that's been showing love, thank you. DAG just did the DEX. I think that their DEX is now live, or it's about to be going live too. So that'll allow for additional tokens to be built on their platform. They got an interesting deal where they're trying to integrate with Base too, which has a lot of attention and a lot of liquidity's been flowing over there on Base, which is, you know, what is Base, a layer 1 or is it a layer 2? Yeah, Base is an Ethereum layer 2. So yeah, it's an interesting integration there. And then I'm excited to see who else they can get to join their network. I'm especially watching after the Clarity Act passes for projects like DAG and others to see what kind of institutional adoption we can really get. They got Panasonic just added their Metagraph on the network. That was really good. That's really big. But I'd like to see more. And we also want to make sure too that, you know, we're not dealing with, on a lot of these tokens too, you got big bag holders that can be waiting to dump and offload. So this is why, like, my base case on a lot of these cryptos has been going back to previous all-time high, maybe doubling up previous all-time high. But these coins that have been around for 2 or 3 cycles are not going to see 2 to 3x their previous all-time high unless they have real momentum, real institutional adoption, ETFs, and digital asset treasury companies. If you don't have that, you're going to be lucky to get back to your previous all-time high, maybe double. For example, Stellar. Stellar was just shy of $1. This bull run, I have targets up at $2. $2 to $3 for Stellar, which at the current price levels is not bad at all. Short-term trade on Stellar, still wide open. Still a really easy play, I think. Did I buy the Gemini IPO? No. No. I've not moved into private equity myself yet. In regards to buying Ripple equity, though, I still think that it is grossly undervalued. I still think that you can make good money. As long as you have a bag of XRP that you're content with, then yeah. I don't know if you have more upside on Ripple equity at this point. It's already done so many multiples. We were eyeballing Ripple equity at $20 per share. Now it's upwards of $160 or $180 per share. I think somebody said in the super chats on Tuesday that it was available on Hive for like $200 per share. So the valuation continues to go up substantially. I still think that it's still undervalued, but XRP is grossly undervalued as well too. So I still think that you have more upside on XRP, but I think it's a nice little play. It's a complementary play to XRP. Yeah. DAG is on Uphold, and where I'd like to see it next is on Caleb and Brown. I've talked with the team at Caleb and Brown about DAG, and it just is a problem with Fireblocks custody. So Fireblocks doesn't do DAG, and that's why Caleb and Brown hasn't added them yet, is because they want to only add it if they can put it in institutional grade custody for you. Is DAG good for long-term growth? It's definitely good for a short-term trade, and I'm watching it closely to see if it ends up becoming an asset that I want to hold long-term. The big question that remains for me on that is going to be institutional adoption. They're partnered up with the Department of Defense, which is great, Panasonic, a few other institutions, but I'd like to see some more. What do I think about Crow and AVAX? So I just dropped a update on Crow. My target's worst case scenario is a 50-cent Crow. That's like base case. Crow would be 50 cents. If Crow goes to its previous all-time high market cap, that would be a 73-cent Crow. So that's my next level for Crow. And then I think that it's going to fall short of $1. The previous all-time high was about 97 cents. The reason why I think that it falls short is because there's going to be no ETFs live probably in the next 6 months for Crow. There's going to be no, well, there is digital asset treasury companies. You have the deal with Trump Media. The problem with that is that they're probably going to be buying it directly from crypto.com, OTC. And so I don't think that that's going to have an impact on the price of Crow all that much, other than retail market speculation. I mean, Crow pumped on the news that Trump's media company was going to be creating, you know, this partnership with crypto.com to create a digital asset treasury company for Crow. It pumped on that news. But the problem is that they said that they're going to be buying it over a course of like over the next year. And I'm wondering where the source of that Crow is going to come from. I don't think it's going to come from the open market. I think that they're going to do OTC from crypto.com. And so it's not going to have any impact on price, that digital asset treasury company accumulating Crow. So no ETFs in the next 6 months, digital asset treasury company acquiring the OTC. There's only one DAT. And then institutional adoption is not really happening. And so it doesn't check off those boxes, or halfway checks off those boxes for me. And then when it comes to the tokenomics, they're releasing 1 billion tokens every month for between now and 2030. So the inflation of Crow is pretty dramatic. I don't like it. I don't own it. And I think that it'll stall it out from surpassing $1 this bull run. And I think that anything over $1 would be an absolute blessing in the next 6 months. Now, the potential for it to go over $1, I could see that for next cycle with ETFs live, maybe some more adoption. But for this current cycle, I think that it falls short. But watch the deep dive that I just dropped in my 2025 coin review playlist. That's on Crow. It's also a good video to watch because I run through the mindset and how I analyze projects at this late in the bull run. We're late in the bull run. Should you make the move, yes or no? That video shows you how I'm evaluating Crow and why I decided I don't need to buy any Crow right now. Somebody says, I think Zach came from planet Krypton. I don't know what that is. I think that I do believe that the aliens are going to choose XRP. I think that that's going to be their intergalactic reserve currency of choice. But I didn't come from the same planets as the aliens, so I can't confirm that 100% for you guys. Is that a like Star Trek reference or something that I don't know? I'm so bad at movie references. My wife's always asking me, if she, brings up some reference. Have you not seen that movie? And I say no. She said, oh my gosh, you haven't seen anything. Did you even have a childhood? I said, yes, I was head down in sports. And what about ZBCN? Yeah, let's take a look. Still bullish, just under half a penny still. Yeah, so it looks like it's holding up, and I don't think it's done at all. Boy, was this a runner. What's the next Zebeki, huh? That's the question that we're all asking. What's the next Zebeki? DIA was a good example of a momentum trade. This is a really good example here. I got into this sucker at 50 cents, I believe, right around 50 cents. And I was able to sell it off right above $1. Right, so this is a good momentum trade. Got in, got out, doubled up my money, took it and ran. Wasn't quite as good of a run as Zebek was, but we did get in on that one. ZBCN did surpass 5 billion staked. And I remember when I did my first videos on ZBCN, they had just reached 1 billion staked. So since we got into Zebek, we've seen the wallet count like double or triple up, and the amount of ZBCN staked has gone from 1 billion to 5 billion. It's been incredible. I still think it runs higher. Yeah, Chris, I still think that we're in a bull run, definitely. Alt season's really just getting started. I appreciate that. D-Viles, thank you for another Galaxy. Thank you very much for your support. H-bar, I think, runs to $1.50 base case, upwards of $2. But if you guys want my full update on my portfolio, I dropped that a couple weeks for my Discord community. And then I'm going to be following up on my portfolio with an updated exit strategy for XRP and all the other cryptos that I have as well too. So stay tuned for that. Okay. But guys, hey, I'm going to wrap up this session here. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. It has been an absolute pleasure tonight. All of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. Whether it be exchanges, wallets, precious metals, you want the Gemini card, it's linked up down below. The other one, we haven't added this to the website yet, so the only place to find it right now is in the description of my YouTube video. That's the link for Mark Kohler's law firm. If you're looking for help on estate planning, taxes, or legal advice, we've started to work with Mark Kohler's law firm. We did a call with our Discord group last month. There was an incredibly valuable session, but we did that to kind of spark the new relationship that we formed with Mark Kohler and his firm. Very excited to be working with them on my own entities. And so find that linked up down below in the description of this video. Everything else is at zachrector.com. And on the way out, if you guys appreciate what we're doing, please make sure that you like this video. If you're new here, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will be back tomorrow with some more updates, okay? Our Discord community is accessed through Patreon. We do our Discord weekly calls every Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. This will be an important one this week, along with the updated exit strategy and portfolio update for the community. That'll be exclusively for the Discord community. So if you want to get tapped in over there, go to zachrector.com, sign up to the Patreon, and get access to Discord. And if you guys want to take advantage of it, the only way to get your membership discount is to pay for a year up front. You can save up to 10% by doing so. So if you're looking to save some money on that membership, just sign up for a full year. You'll save 10%. And I think that we'll bring that value times 10, maybe even more, back to those of you guys who join our community. We are continuing to expand our resources, the knowledge, the expertise that we've been sharing over there, not just on crypto, but other assets as well. And we are just getting started, okay? Thank you very much. 1970 Legend sneaking in one last super chat. We'll get that for you, Legend. Will H-bar go at the same time as XRP? Yes. Just like they did on the election. I think that these utility assets are going to have another second wave. XRP, XLM, H-bar were some of the best performers after the election. XRP did a full swing of 589%. It was actually 588, but I round up to 589 just for the memes. Stellar did 610% and H-bar did 800%. These were the top performers after the election. They will continue to be some of the best performers the rest of this bull run. And I still think that H-bar is at great levels to accumulate. So, I may actually look to accumulate some H-bar on Caleb and Brown. It's been nice to pick up some bags over there on Caleb and Brown. And then I've just had a great time. And we've had nothing but great feedback from folks using Caleb and Brown and their platform for institutional grade custody. Once again, transparent fees. A lot of these exchanges are nickel and diamond, hitting you with the nickel and diamond and all these hidden fees that end up adding up to be more than that 3.5% trading fee that Caleb and Brown does charge you, right? But in the meantime, you can take advantage of free institutional grade custody. And when it does come time to execute, especially for bigger bags, and this is where I've already been moving some money off their platform and I've had no problem. I send that money to my bank account, it lands there next day, and I haven't been charged a dime for the service. So that's something I've been taking advantage of, like I said earlier. And like we're seeing on Coinbase, folks are buying on Coinbase and then moving to Caleb and Brown, right? That's another great way, to get some assets over there. That's what I've been doing, is moving XRP that I've been making from XRP memes. I just moved that over to Caleb and Brown. And then I've already set my orders over there on Caleb and Brown. It's basically set it and forget it. And I know what my order is going to execute at. I know what the fee is going to be. And then I know I can tell my broker, hey, can we send it over to the bank? And it lands there next day, less than 24 hours. And I did just check with them. They are available in Norway. Like I mentioned earlier, I had a fine one-on-one call with a gentleman from Norway. If you guys are looking to book a one-on-one call, you just go to the website in the community resources. You'll find it. You can find my Calendly and book a time with me. The slots are filling up quickly there, so get on the schedule while you can. But I was discussing Caleb and Brown with this guy from Norway, and I did check. It is available in Norway and many of the Nordic countries. So if you're tuning in from up there, we appreciate you for stopping by. And I'm glad that community resource is available for you guys in that region. Okay? Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you. ZachRector.com is the website. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless you all. Thank you so much for your